take to the asphalt. Green light, and they're off. On the track, we have our first partner, Layered Premium Blend Genetics, from premiumblendgenetics.com. Next up, it's Beck's Hybrids, from beckshybrids.com. And here comes Showright, from showright.com. Coming around, we have Brad Howe Ford, from bhiford.com. And here comes First Farmers Bank and Trust, from ffbt.com. And rounding out the racers, it's Kennedy Ventures, from kennedyventuresok.com. On the track and in the ring, it's all about collaboration and teamwork. Join us in honoring our premier partners, because together they're the driving force of the livestock industry.
With your Junior Maine Angus female show, your first class in the ring. These are Junior Maine Angus spring heifer calves born April to May of 2025. Welcoming to the ring your judge today, Mr. Andy Higgins.
Well, good afternoon here on the Maine Angus side. A good class here to start things off with, a big class, and quality females all the way through. I think here this top pair of heifers for me hit me pretty hard right when they come in the gate, and we study the two here, the heifer that's going to win the class for me. I think she gets this one parked, and you just study her silhouette, you study her lines, they're very good. I think a female that's super attractive up front. Love this one's rib cage and just the outward spring she has to it. Plenty of depth at this stage. We set her in motion and study the way she's constructed in her skeleton, and I think she's one that gets out and moves around the ring in a very good fashion. Good heifer here to start the class off. Heifer in second. I think from just a standpoint of mass and dimension, you've got to appreciate this female. There's a lot to her in terms of her rib cage, her hip. She's got probably an added advantage in terms of foot size and bone work as well. She's a little bit plainer about her front end there and down into her chest than our class winner. Probably like to square her up just a notch from her hooks to her pins when we get around behind her there, but there's no denying just the mass, the dimension this one has. Good female to go second. From there, we fall into a pair of more moderate heifers in this particular class, but I think they both still offer some goodness in terms of quality. This one here is extremely feminine in her makeup, about her head and her neck. She's so sleek up there, really good when we study her from her forerib back into her flank. She's got some power as well. You know, for me, maybe just reads a little more moderate compared to the two above her. I think that works to her disadvantage today. Much of the same could be said for the heifer that comes next. I'll appreciate this one in terms of her feet and legs. Really like the way she gets out and handles her hind leg all the way down to the ground. She's got some power to her. Maybe doesn't balance up quite as nice for me as the heifer right in front of her when we study her there over the top side of her neck at her tail head, but still good quality in a moderate package. Heifer that comes next is a very interesting female because I think we get directly on the profile of this one, and she certainly catches your eye. I like the way her neck ties up there out of her shoulder. Really good in terms of her underline and the shape to it there. A female for me that's probably just a little flatter when we get around on the three-quarter view. Maybe just doesn't have that outward spring to her rib cage. Another one when we set her in motion. I think she's just a little tighter in the way she handles her spine, but I appreciate her freshness. I think there's a lot of future in this female here. Heifer that comes next, another one that's certainly very fresh in her condition, a little greener than some of the heifers that stand in front of her. Still very feminine in her makeup, just gives up some of the rib shape, some of the dimension to the cattle above her. We round things off here, I think a female that's big-footed and big-boned, just gives up some of the balance in terms of her rib cage, in terms of her depth of the heifers in front of her. Good place to start off here on the Maine Angus show. class here, and some differences I think in these 5 heifers to sort through just in terms of type and kind and where they're at today. And I guess for me, the heifer that's going to win here when you really break them down puts the most good things together. She's one that you really have to appreciate when you set her in motion. I think we study the angles of her skeleton, and she's extremely correct there. We built from the ground up. I probably like her as well there as any in the class. With that, there's no doubt she's got some added performance, some added size, and just dimension all the way through. I'll be, the first to admit she's probably not the cleanest necked one in this class, but I still think it matches her body type just in terms of her doability. She's still got some look, and with all that power, it's hard to get around one like that today. This heifer in second, I love the future of this one because she's extremely fresh out here today. This one's extremely long and extended all the way through. We study her up there about her neck. We study her down her top line. This heifer's very long. She's not as powerful in terms of foot size and bone as some of the other heifers out here. For me, she's got plenty. I think we just study her build and study the pieces here and set her in motion. She's one that's got a bright future. Probably just gives up a little bit of power and dimension to that one in front of her today. Heifer that comes next is pretty similar to our heifer that stood second in terms of her length, in terms of her look. And when he gets her parked, I love this female. I love the angle she has to her hock and down into her pastern. Plenty of power when we get around and look at her from behind. She gives us a neat look standing still. When we set her in motion, she wants to paddle just a little more out of her front end, wants to drop her neck down in her shoulders a little bit, maybe just not give us quite that look the 2 heifers in front of her do in motion, but still a lot of good pieces in this female. Another one I think's got a very bright future. The more moderate female of the 5 here comes next, and I don't mind that because I think this female is one that offers some power and some genuine width and dimension when we study her the way she comes out of the top side of her skeleton there. For me, her moderation probably works to her disadvantage a little bit in this class. I would like to change the way this one's knee is designed and just give her a shot more flexibility there. We round things off with a heifer that's sure powerful and probably as much true shape in terms of muscle as anything in the class today. When we set her in motion, she just wants to lose her balance some or over the top side of her neck and the way she handles her loin there back into her tail head. But no doubt, a big, powerful, stout-featured female to round the class off.
Place went to back number 6013 BTLR TSSC First Lady 304 NET, exhibited by Maddie Smith of Athens, Texas. Second place in that class will go to Camden Weatherly of Perry, Oklahoma. Third place was exhibited by Gage Pickens of Medill, Oklahoma. Fourth place went to Parker Irwin of Hartshorn, Oklahoma. And fifth place will go to Rudy Kroll of Garber, Oklahoma. Now in the ring, this is Class 3 Junior Main Angus Spring Heifer calves, born February of 2025. Back in the short
in class over here on the main Angus side. I think a female that leads things off that there's no doubt just has the advantage in terms of dimension, just in terms of overall size and power today amongst these four heifers. We study this one, and while she's probably a little shorter necked than maybe some of the other females, it's still just her depth, her rib shape, her power that gets her to the top of this class. I think in terms of structure, maybe there's a couple of things we'd like to tweak on this one a little bit. Maybe gets just a notch more uncomfortable right there on those rear two pasterns at times out here, but I think ultimately it's just hard to get around one in this particular class with this kind of power, this kind of dimension. From there, we roll into a pair of heifers in the middle of this class that I think are pretty similar. The more we study them, the more similarities you can see in them, but I think the heifer in second is just a notch fresher here when we study her down into her chest floor today than this heifer in third is. I think when we get directly behind her, there's a shot more power and just genuine width to this female as well. She's a little more moderate and just gives up some of that power and punch to our class winner, but still a lot of quality here in this female in second. Heifer in third, I love this one about her head and her neck and how feminine she is up there. I think she gives you a very striking look in that regard. For me, maybe just a little more fat deposited down there into her chest at this point, and maybe this one's a notch more conditioned than what we think, but still her femininity is just really, really good. I'd like to blow her apart just a little bit when we get around behind her in terms of her genuine width and dimension. Heifer that rounds things off, I love the way this one's neck ties high out of the top of her shoulder. Certainly some presence in this female in terms of look. She's a little coarser there, though, over the top side of her neck, and the way she handles her top line out to her tail head. I would like to just refine this one a little bit compared to the heifers that stand above her. But once again, good class. Certainly some differences amongst those four.
3, first place exhibited by Aubrey Belcher of Blakesburg, Iowa, with POAK RJC Georgia Girl 561 NET. Second place in that class will go to Grace Shute of Greensburg, Indiana. Third place was exhibited by Breck Colantonio, and fourth place went to Coy Holcomb. Now in the ring is Class 4 Junior Main Angus Spring Heifer calves born January of 2025.
Well, another good class here on this main Angus side, and a great place to start here. I think a female that is just overwhelming in terms of her look and her presence up front there. A female that I like her head, I like her neck, the presence she offers up front no doubt catches your eye. And I think then you're gravitated to the rest of her. She's one that's got some boldness all the way through, big-footed and big-boned, and when we set her in motion, just maintains herself when we get her out on the go. I think just a very nice balanced way to start here in terms of power and look, the things she puts together. From there we get into a pair of black heifers that are a little more similar to one another than our class winner, but I think that goes second for me. I just like the maternal look this one has. She's one that's really good in terms of her depth out here today. I like the added extension she has all the way through. She looks like one that's going to have plenty of go in her all the way through. Probably gives up some of the genuine width and power to that class winner. She's not quite as neat about her head as our class winner, but still, I think the pieces on this one fit together extremely nice. I think just a very practical kind of female. There it goes second. Young man's heifer that comes next, another one that's very good in terms of her structure when we set her in motion. Very nicely designed in terms of her hind legs. She gets out and takes a big long step for him. She probably gives up just a little bit of the overall dimension in terms of outline and size of that heifer right in front of her, but yet I think in terms of practicality, she's a very nice female. The red heifer that comes next here, one that when she gets her part gives you a really neat look. I think this one's attractive. She's one that's really level down her top line on the standstill, pulls it together. And I think when we set her in motion, those pieces maybe don't hold together quite as nicely. She wants to get a little narrower there at the ground going away from you. Just doesn't have the power down into her twist and her flank that the ones in front of her have. But another good class here in the main Angus calf division.
Angus Ring results out of our final class in this division. First place to go to back number 6287. That's ADPR FTZ Foxy's Girl, exhibited by Jake King of Cope, Colorado. Second place in that class exhibited by Rhett Herman of Tryon, Oklahoma. Third place go to Cody White of Texaco, New Mexico. Fourth place in that class exhibited by Layla Houghton of Shepherd, Texas. We're now going to welcome in the first and seconds. We'll select a champion reserve, junior heifer calves.
Back here on the main Angus side, we get our class winners out here to pick you a division champion, and I'm extremely pleased with the four we've got out here. We'll run back through them real quick here, and I'll tell you what I'm seeing on these cattle. Heifer out of the first class of the day here. I think one that puts together a lot of neat pieces. She's extremely striking in her look. I just really like the outline of this one when we study her from her head and neck there. Way she blends into her rib cage and all the way through. Really good when we set her in motion. I just really like the look this one gives out here in terms of balance, in terms of completeness among these class winners. I think that's a very nice female. The heifer out of the next class here, come out of a tough class, and she come to the top because she was just overwhelming in terms of her dimension and her power all the way through, and I think that still holds true out here amongst these four class winners today. Really flexible down her spine and square out her hip. Good there when we read her off all four. She's probably the deepest centered female that we have out here today. You know, with all that extra dimension, as you might expect, maybe got just a notch more up front there. I'm not sure that she's the most attractive of the four we have out here today, but still balances up very nicely in terms of just power and dimension. Heifer that came out of that third class, much like the class in front of her, she overwhelmed the rest of the class just in terms of her dimension, her power and performance. Today, we get out here and look at her with some more competition, and we still like how clean she is up through her front 1/3. I like this one's underline. When we set her in motion, and we talked it in class a little bit, maybe like to tweak this one just a little off both ends of her skeleton to free her up some, but yet still think she offers a lot of quality in this lineup. And our heifer out of our fourth class here, we get to her, and I think she's one that, as she should be, she's the oldest of this lineup, but she's certainly just more stretched out in terms of her length all the way through, and I like that about her. Beautiful and striking up there about her head and neck, and just gives you that demanding look and presence. I like the condition this one's in today, too. I think she's still fresh out here today. She's got some power and boldness to her, got some added foot size and bone work as well. So with that being said, I think this division, as we start things off in the Junior Main Anjou show, is very competitive, as much as I expected it to be. There's some close decisions here, but I'll show you the way I like these four. Folks ringside, let's give them a round of applause.
Angus Ring, your champion out of our first division, coming out of Class 4, goes to ADPR FTZ Foxy's Girl, exhibited by Jake King of Cope, Colorado. Reserve champion will go to Harper Conine of Scott City, Kansas. That was JRDA BBR Gigi's Nova 133N. We're now going to welcome in Class 5 Junior Main Angus Winter Heifer calves, born November of 2024. Back over in the Shorthorn ring, results out of Class 20 first
Single entry here in this main Angus show to start off the fall division, and young ladies brought us a really nice female here. I love the extension this one has. She's super long bodied, still very feminine and maternal there about her head and neck and the way she ties into her shoulder. I like the added foot size and bone work in this heifer as well. I think one that in terms of just type and kind checks a lot of boxes. Very nice single entry.
Angus ring results of Class 5. First place will go to Rose the Lucky Lady, 437 MET, exhibited by Gemma Emberson of Nowata, Oklahoma. We're now going to welcome in Class 6. These are junior main Angus fall heifer calves, born September to October of 2024.
Well, a really practical pair of fall heifers here in this class, and heifer that's going to win it for me. I really just appreciate the freshness and the femininity here in this female. I like her added length and extension everywhere. Tremendously square when we look from her hooks to her pins and how she handles her top line. And for me, she's just a shot more coordinated when we're in motion compared to the heifer here in second. Very nice balanced kind of female to lead this class off. Heifer that comes next, I like her flexibility as well. She's super in terms of her hock and rear leg and how she handles it in motion. She's a little coarser there about her head and neck than the heifer that wins the class. Not sure she has just the genuine lower rib that our class winner does, but yet still a lot of quality, a lot of good things to offer in both these females.
Well, congratulations in the Shorthorn ring. Results out of Class 21. 6, first place exhibited by Stella Worley of Ringling, Oklahoma, with FLYH Money Down 4024 MET. Second place was exhibited by Bella Manis of Boswell, Oklahoma. We're now going to bring those first and seconds in. Select a champion reserve fall calf.
Well, we get our two class winners back out here in this fall division, and not a lot of numbers in this particular division, but I do think we've got a nice pair of heifers out here to represent our class winners. I'll tell you what I'm seeing on these two here before I make my selection. The heifer out of the first class, a single entry, was one that sure could have stood some competition. We get her back out here with a couple more, and I'm really pleased with how she stacks up. We talked to her there in class, one that's just super long and extended. I really like the feminine maternal look this one has about her head and neck and the way she ties in there. I think she's got some added foot size and bone work compared to our other class winner. One that still balances up extremely nice. Love how this one's and the way she uses it there on down to the ground. Heifer out of this second class here, she came to the top of that class because she was just smooth and elegant in her look and the way she's put together, and I think that still holds true here amongst this pair of heifers. I love her freshness. I love just the maternal look this one has. We compared our class winner right in front of her, and I think this one's got just a shot more base width to her. I think when we get around behind her, there's a little more genuine width and shape there. We watched this one walk away from us, and maybe she's just a little stiffer in the way she handles her hawk compared to the heifer right in front of her. So there's some give and take here amongst these two, but I'll show you how I like them. Once again, good division here on this main Angus side.
Ring your champion fall heifer calf exhibited by Gemma Emberson, and reserve champion will go to Stella Worley. We're now going to welcome in Class 7. This will also be the summer yearling division. Back over in the short
class here within this summer division, so this will be our automatic division champions, and good pair of heifers here, I think, to represent this division. Lead things off here with a heifer wins it on the move. This one's extremely good when we get her in motion as we study the angles to her skeleton, the way she gets out and handles herself on the go. Aside from that, she gets her parked, and I think this one gives us a very balanced look from the profile. Paints a pretty picture in terms of the way her front end ties into her shoulder and her rib cage. She's just so flexible in the way she handles her spine at her hip. She's not quite as opened up when we get around behind her as maybe the heifer in second, but still it's her balance, her structure, and look that gets her to the top of this class. Heifer in second is the most like our class winner in terms of just body type and dimension and outline. I think a female, there's no denying how much dimension this one has there in her forerib back into her flank. When we get around behind her, I think there's a shot more heifer there than our class winner. I think she's comparable in terms of foot size and bone work to our class winner. She's one for me that where I'd like to change her the most. We set her in motion, and she's just a little more elevated off both ends of her skeleton there in her shoulder, the way she handles her hock. If we could free this one up just a notch in motion, I think that pair gets a lot closer. From there, we roll into a heifer that is very practical in terms of her kind. She's a little shorter bodied, but I still think one that's got some doability to her. I'd like to set this one back in the angle to her shoulder some and her knee. She gets a little more upright there, and when we set her in motion, just doesn't want to get out and take that big long stride like the one that wins the class does. And we round things off with a heifer that's got some added length and extension to her, maybe the most powerful just in terms of sheer muscle shape and power and width when we get around behind her. She's coming at us in a little more moderate package today, just not quite that depth of rib and just overall softness that the ones above her have. She gets just a notch rounder in terms of the way she's put together as well.
In the main Angus ring, summer yearling champion exhibited by Emery Paddock of Russellville, Missouri. That was Rosita 412 MET. Second place in that class in reserve division will go to Isabella Lugo of Bakersfield, California. Third place exhibited by Micaiah Schroeder, and fourth place go to Lacey Talley. We're now going to welcome in Class 8. These are junior main Angus late spring yearling heifers born April of 2024.
We're back in the main Angus show. A very good pair of heifers here, and ones that are a little different from one another, but the heifer that's going to win the class just checks more boxes for me. And we set her in motion, and that's where she rises right to the top. She's the more moderate of the pair of heifers we've got here today, no doubt, but I think we study the shape this one has there, about her forerib, through her center rib, back into her flank, and there's just a lot of capacity there. There's plenty of power in this female, and I like how square and true she is down her top line and out her hip. When we set her in motion, I think she gets out and covers the ground about as good as you can ask one to. Puts all that together in just a really easy doing kind of look. Heifer that comes next here, boy, I like a lot of things about this one because there's no doubt she's the bigger, more extended one of the pair here. Incredible in terms of her underline as well and her rib shape to have that added length and extension. I like the freshness this one has here, perhaps over the class winner. It's when we set this one in motion. She just wants to get a little more upright there in her shoulder. Doesn't want to get out and take that big step out of her front end. And when we get around behind the cattle, I wish this one was just a little square up high there about her pins compared to our class winner. But absolutely two females here that have some unique pieces, ones that I think are going to go on and generate a lot in the future.
Class 8, first place was exhibited by McKenna Cleveringa of Alton, Iowa with VZR. She's the queen, 425 MET. Second place in that class was exhibited by Rebecca Derler. Now in the ring is Class 9. These are junior main Angus early spring yearling heifers born March of 2024.
Well, a powerful class here on this main Angus side, and good place to start here for me. I think we got a female here that looks like one that has got some added length and extension, and with that much length, still just a tremendous amount of rib. I think a female, as we study her design out her hip and now down into her hock and all the way down to the ground, she's very good there. When he gets her parked, she still maintains the most demanding look in this class, and in motions where I like her the best. A female that just checks a lot of boxes here amongst this particular class. There's some decisions to be made here from their own, and I think the heifer, the white-bellied heifer that goes second, is the most like our class winner, just in terms of build and kind. Very maternal look about this one here as we study her, about her head and her neck. I like this one's rib cage as well. When we set her in motion, she gets out and takes a really long stride. You know, compared to that class winner, she's a little more moderate, probably gives up just a little bit of the overall power and dimension and shape of her class winner, but yet I love her kind. That's why she's right there in the second hole. Heifer that comes next, if you like this one, I'm on your team because I like her too. There's a lot of good in this female just in terms of size and power and shape. I love the udder she's developing there. I think this one's going to have a beautiful udder under her here when she calves pretty soon. When they get this far along, sometimes they want to come apart just a little bit, and I think that's what this one's doing. She's just getting a little more uncoordinated in the way she gets out and moves, and just doesn't want to get out and take that big long step like the two in front of her do. Female that wants to get just a touch softer there as we study her down her top line and the way she handles her loin. Heifer that comes next, I like this one just in terms of her power, her shape, and her dimension. She's one that checks all those boxes. Maybe not quite just as balanced as the ones in front of her. About her head and her neck there, she's not quite as refined. She's one that just wants to get just a notch more unlevel as we study her down her spine when we set her in motion. Young man brought us a very feminine female here that comes next. As beautiful headed and necked as anything in the entire class. This one's good on the move as well. Very flexible in her skeleton. Just doesn't want to maintain that levelness down her top line as we study her there behind her shoulder into her loin as she needs to. Ultimately just gives up a little bit of the overall performance and dimension of the heifers that stand above her. Round things off with another one here that's just so practical in her kind. She's attractive about her head. She's one that's got a big top in her, big square hip. Just carrying a little more condition there as we study her about her neck, and I think it throws her balance off some just in terms of her look. She doesn't drive quite as nicely off her hind leg either as what some of the ones that stand above her do. But once again, we get into these older heifers, and this show's getting good, folks. Very good class here on the main Angus side.
So to Class 9, first place went to back number 6042. That's CMCC Magical Chill 431 MET, exhibited by Trip Yoakum of Sapulpa, Oklahoma. Second place and congratulations go to Riley Rhodes of Carlinville, Illinois. Third place was exhibited by Tegan Deo. Fourth place and congratulations went to Cody Denton. Fifth place go to Gage Pickens, and sixth place went to Grant Robison. Now in the ring, Class 10 before the division.
we get into this older division over here, and this things are shaping up to be a good one for sure within this division. This pair of heifers on top, I'll be pretty blunt about it. They're both extremely high quality livestock. I like them both, and I'd dang sure take either one of them home. I'll tell you what I'm seeing here, because I think both these certainly warrant some discussion here. Heifer up front, when she come in the ring, demands your attention. It's hard to make livestock like this when we get her parked, and the look she gives you there about her head and neck, all the way down into her chest, her rib cage, one that on the standstill you just absolutely love. Her build, when we get around behind her, I think that was one of the deciding factors on this pair of heifers. There's a lot of heifer here when we study her over her top, how square and big she is out her pins and all the way down to the ground. You know, I'll be the first to admit at times we get this one in motion and she doesn't want to get out and take that big step out of her front end. I think some of that's because when she come in the ring she was wanting to go, but longer she's in here and gets her slowed down, the better that gets. It's hard to make livestock like that with that much dimension. Heifer that comes next, this one's certainly is my kind, because I think she's a power cow as well. Big-footed and big-boned, balances up so nicely from the side. I like the udder this one's making as well over our class winner there. She's a little bit shorter bodied than their class winner. She's one that's not quite attractive about her head as our class winner. Ultimately, probably the deciding factor for me is when you get around behind them. I just don't think this one's quite as wide there in terms of her pin, and we read her down into her quarter as our class winner, but yet that female there's one that's certainly the right kind as well. I think she's going to be a generator on down the road. Heifer that comes next here, a lot of quality in this one, and she fell into a very tough class. Very neat about her lines all the way through as we study this one, and her balance just is really right on point. She's a little shorter all the way through for my liking. I'd just like to stretch her out some, maybe see this one just a notch softer there in terms of her overall look. Young lady that rounds things up here has brought us a really square hip, big bone kind of female. She's just a little harder as we study her there about her rib cage and just her overall look. For me, I'd just like to soften her up some, but good class, very good division here so far.
Place over here in the main Angus ring goes to Carter Cornegie of Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's POAK Queen M240ET. Second place in that class exhibited by Cambria Cook of Clovis, California. Third place also to Cambria Cook. Fourth place will go to Isabella Lankford. We'll now bring those first and seconds in. Select a champion reserve junior yearling. Back over in the Shorthorn ring, your intermediate.
We're not going to waste any time here on the main Angus side. Got a lot of cattle to show, and I'm glad y'all let Butler pick the playlist out today for us to judge out here. These three heifers, class winners here, when this first class, I said, wow, we're in for a treat here, and I didn't know what I had coming behind her. Still a female that does a lot of things right in terms of just her build and her skeleton. Awesome in terms of her knee and her hock and all the way down to the ground. You know, compared to these two big heifers behind her, she's a little more moderate. She's a little more compact in the way she's put together. Break it down to the basics of functional cattle. This one sure checks a lot of boxes, and I bet you she makes a very good cow in production. Out of that second class, boy, that was a good class, and heifer that came to the top put a lot of things together for me. Just elegant in her look. She's got some added length to her, and I like that in cattle. Still maintains her balance, though, with that added length in terms of her rib cage. For me, she's probably the longest strided, freest moving one of the trio we've got out here at class winners, and doesn't give up any power when we get around and look at her from behind or the three-quarter view. A lot of good in that female. Last class here, another class that was loaded with good ones, and that female that won, I think she's a female when she gets her park there, just paints a beautiful picture on the profile in terms of her silhouette. She too, like the heifer in front of her, had just a notch more power and dimension to her than her heifer that was in second, and ultimately I think that's what got her to the top of the class. She was one we talked there, maybe like to see get out and take just a little freer reach out of her front end and her knee, but that's being extremely critical on a very, very high quality female. There's seconds over here behind them, folks. There are a lot of shows you could take those two and win a banner with today, but out here in Oklahoma at the Cattleman's Congress, this is what you expect to see. I'll pick you a pair of champions here in this division. Let's give them a round of applause and get a little noise going in here.
Your champion in that division, coming out of Class 9, exhibited by Trip Yoakum, Sapulpa, Oklahoma. That was PVF DLX Kingpin 0058. Correction on that. That animal is CMCC Magical Chill 431 MET. Reserve champion will come out of Class 10 and exhibited by Carter Cornegie. That's POAK Queen M240ET. We're now going to welcome in your final class and division here for our Junior Main Angus Female Show.
Final division, a really good single entry female here. Very, very practical in her time, in her kind. I think a female that offers a look of some power. She's really square and level at her hip. She's one that's starting to make a little bit of an udder there as well. I think just a nice senior yearling here to round things up in this main Angus show.
Well, congratulations. Your first place and division champion will go to Joshua Claggett of Blooming Grove, Texas, with FLYH looking fantastic 3024L. We're now going to welcome in all of those division champion and reserves, and our judge will select his grand and reserve grand champion, Junior Main Angus females. Your division champion reserves here in our junior main Angus female show. Ladies and gentlemen, here in the OG&E Coliseum, let's put our hands together for our junior main Angus exhibitors.
Well, folks, we're going to keep things rolling along. I know we got some more cattle to get through here today, and I'm not going to go back through and talk the cattle for the sake of time right now, but I will say this. We study these cattle out here from this calf division. That thing was loaded with quality all the way down here to this senior yearling division, and these cattle were very impressive today. Very, very impressive, and man, it makes it easy on my end when we've got cattle like this out here to sort through. There's one thing I want to leave you guys with, and I'm not going to talk long, but we all like showing cattle or we wouldn't be here. We're all competitors. That's what makes us good. But there's something we need to remember. It's all about the people, folks, and the friendships you make. So the guy judging in the other ring over here is one of my best friends. We actually rode out here on the plane together last night. Pretty dang cool to be judging out here beside him. You know, we help one another out a lot. We helped each other last week out here showing cattle. We help one another all along at the shows, but this started a long time ago, probably when we was y'all's age over here. So the people you meet here doing this week, you're going to be buddies with them your whole life. No matter what you do in the show, whether you win, lose, or draw, you got to remember that there's more to it than winning shows. With that being said, awesome set of cattle. I'm going to show you the ones I like out here. There's a good pair of females I'm going to use.
Your grand champion junior main Angus female coming out of class 9. That was exhibited by Trip Yoakum, Sapulpa, Oklahoma, CMCC, Magical Chill, 431 MET. Coming out of the same division, exhibited by Carter Cornegie, Tulsa, Oklahoma. That was POAK Queen M240 ET. Well, again, congratulations to the junior main Angus exhibitors. Special thank you to Mr. Andy Higgins. We'll see him back here in a little bit to sort the rest of the show. We're going to get the ring cleared. We'll head to the backdrop and then get started with your open main Angus show. Open Main Angus Show, welcoming to the ring Mr. Corey Thompson.
As we get started on the open show of the Main Angus division over here on this side, boy, what a way to start this great show with this good, big, solid class of Main Angus females from top to bottom. Just a really dynamic pair here to start off with. In my mind, the one that we're going to lead off with, to me, the combination of her structural integrity and build, shoulder construction, the look, and the amount of power in that female, is very, very good. Her extra length of body to me gives her the advantage to her in this top pair that's very tight. She's just got a little more length of rib, length of front end, and I just think on down the road as we progress, that heifer's got a bright, bright future ahead of her. This heifer in second, to me, she just fits in the second hole today in terms of staying with that 1-in-1. She's just a little more progressive in terms of the extra rib shape she has, the maturity that she's at, just a little more ready to go today. If we're going to change her, like I said, she doesn't have that extra length of body like that one in first, but tremendous amount of rib cage and barrel in that one, make an awesome brood cow prospect. This one in third is one that worries me a little bit in terms of the future. She is one that if she's done right, this one here is put together awesome. She is the youngest one in the class, and maturity-wise, it's just hard to compare her to them two. But this one here, her structural integrity, her shoulder blade, her body, her muscle, this one is right in a lot of areas. She just doesn't have the extra power, extra width, the extra maturity that them two right ahead of her do. But that's a high quality one in the third hole. Boy, in terms of presentation and clipping and fitting them, this one in four is put together awesome. She's same type of female for me as we progress her out into a bred heifer next year, maybe just a little bigger in terms of overall frame score and size, and she is straighter and more upright in terms of his shoulder blade. I'd like to lay her back a little bit in terms of her shoulder. One in fifth here, she gets her set up from the side. She'll give you a striking pose, really up-fronted and tight throat latch type of a female, gives you a killer look from the side. When we set her in motion is where I have problems with this female. Just gets a little more rigid in terms of how she utilizes her hock and hind wheels, but that's a good looking one. We put a sound bull on her. She could sure do some things. Tremendous class to start the show. Let's give all 5 of those exhibitors a round of applause.
begun our open Maine Angus female show. Results out of Class 12. First place exhibited by Harper Conan of Scott City, Kansas, with JRDA BBR Gigi's Nova 133N. Second place in that class exhibited by Cato Craft of Anadarko, Oklahoma. Third place in that class will go to Avon Moon. Fourth place exhibited by Cambria Cook. Fifth place went to Lily Willis. Now in ring one, this is Class 13, Open Maine Angus Spring Heifer Calves, born March of 2025.
Back over here on the Maine Angus side, a little tougher class here for me, I guess, to put together just some variations in terms of size and maturity out here in this top trio, no doubt about it. The one that we're going to lead off with, I think she's undeniably the one that's so powerful when you get up on top of her and step in right behind her. The width and dimension on this one for a heifer calf is absolutely outstanding, and with all that extra power and spread that she has is so good in terms of how she gets out and goes around the ring. If I'm going to change her longevity wise, she doesn't have that extra presence and neck set and cleanliness that this 1 and 2 has, but boy, that is a wide built animal with big legs that are very flexible. I think she'll make a whale of a donor cow. This one in second, to me, future wise, as we project her into this time next year, she is one that gives you a striking look from the side. She's extremely sound at the ground in terms of how she goes around the ring. I like her muscle and her balance. She is one that, compared to the 2 on both sides of her, no doubt about it, just maybe doesn't have that extra frame and that extra performance that those 2 have, but that's a very good heifer in her own right. I think she's just got a real solid place in 2. The 1 and 3, probably more similar to the heifer that wins the class in terms of that extra size. really a big barreled one. I like that about her. When we set her in motion, I just don't know if she steps to the ground quite as comfortable as the two right ahead of her. Maybe not quite as attractive up through her front 1/3 as that heifer in second, but that is a whale of a trio of Maine Angus females to lead off this class. One that just needs a shot more body for me as I analyze her out here as compared to the three ahead of her. She's so long-bodied and she's got some extra frame to her. She just needs a shot more depth of rib to give her more overall balance, but a really sound-built one, really a good-looking one. We get a calf in her this time next year, she could change a whole bunch. Real sound one that comes next, would like her at the ground a whole bunch, just maybe doesn't have the extra dimension and spread that heifers do on up the class. And then we round out the class with probably the biggest framed one in this entire lineup, one that has some length of hip and some levelness, just like to make her a whole lot squarer off both ends of her skeleton. Really good class of Maine Angus females. Let's give them a round of applause.
Angus Ring, first place, exhibited by Maddie Smith, Athens, Texas, with BTLR TSSC First Lady 304 NET. Second place in that class will go to Parker Irwin with CMCC Nobody's Girl 527 NET. Third place was exhibited by Silveris Brothers of Firebaugh, California. Fourth place will go to Gage Pickens, Medill, Oklahoma. Fifth place went to Camden Weatherly. Sixth place exhibited by MC2 of Medill, Oklahoma. We're now going to bring those first and seconds in, select a champion reserve junior heifer calves.
Back here on the main Angus side, we get our first division out here. I think two tremendous individuals come out of those two classes, no doubt about it. Maybe not exactly carbon copies of each other. Just talk real briefly about them. This one that comes out of the first class, and really that pair of females, they're the ones that are a little more immature, obviously, compared to the second class. But boy, these two are the sharpest fronted two. A lot of longevity in those cattle. Really solid at the ground. They got some muscle. They just, to me, are going to make awesome bred females this time next year, and are just so solid with still having some donor cow attributes. Then this second class winner, here's one. She's just a beast, right? You get up on her. Her width of skeleton and just width of back is absolutely outstanding. She's big, heavy, flexible legged. We like that about her. In terms of making show cattle and doing what we're doing out here this time next year, just worries me just a little bit. Her lower shoulder and just the way her neck all ties together and her cleanliness of throat latch. But boy, she is heavy duty. She's going to make an awesome donor in her own right. So, like I say, some differences, but a lot of quality in this division. To me, the two that I like long-term come out of the first class. They'll be Grand and Reserve. Let's give them a round of applause.
Well, congratulations. Back over in the Shorthorn ring, your here in the main Angus ring. Results out of the first division. Your champion coming out of Class 12, exhibited by Harper Conine of Scott City, Kansas. Reserve champion also coming from the first class, exhibited by Cato Craft.
The main Angus side, I think Ray Charles could have found this heifer in this class. just a tremendous amount of spread to this one, big and bold in terms of her upper barrel, and one that sure has enough look to her when you get off the side profile. We set her in motion, and I think she's more than adequate in terms of her structural integrity. Really nice heifer to lead off this particular class. I think the one in second, I think she's just the second soundest one out here in terms of setting them in motion and just length of stride and the way she sets down to the ground. Maybe not quite as high in her condition score as that one ahead of her. I think just a few more days on feed, that one's going to get better every day of her life. The one that comes next, she really follows suit with that heifer in second. The length of body and length of hip in this female is very, very good. She also is sound at the ground. When you step in right behind that female right there, she doesn't have that extra width and dimension as the two right ahead of her. But again, a sharp-fronted one, really lean in her condition. She's only going to get better. Then we round out the class. When this young man gets her set up from the side, I love her tightness of throat latch and the way that neck shoots out of her shoulder blade. Just gives you a killer look up through her front 1/3. Maybe doesn't set down with quite the comfortability as the heifer's on up the lineup. We'd just like to change the way she's designed in her rear hock and how she hits the ground. But tremendous class of 4. Well, I guess in my opinion, a tremendous way to lead off this January class of Maine Angus females. One that, just looks to me like was made in a science lab or something. She's just a freak of nature. To get one naturally built that upright in terms of the way her neck sits on top of her shoulder blade and still have some angle to her shoulder blade and knee like that is very, very hard to do in livestock. And most of the time when they're that tight-throated and that high setting, they got no muscle to them, and that is not the case with this one. She is wide pinned and wide built. If we're going to change this one ever so slightly, I'd like to take her pins and just raise them ever so slightly, but that's getting nitpicky. That's a very good animal. The one that comes second here, she is just very basic in terms of her overall build. She's high quality, a lot of areas, just doesn't have the extra. So that one that leads off the class with, but she's sound-legged, big-legged. We like all that about her. Really smooth in terms of her lower shoulder blade. Just not quite as much total product there than that one that wins the class, but a really sound at the ground. We like that about her. Young man in the brown sweater coming out there. She is one that takes a big long step off of both ends. Really big feet underneath this feet. Love the foot quality that she has. She doesn't got that extra depth of body and that extra undercarriage and spring that the two do right ahead of her. But boy, she is long strided, and I love the structural integrity of that female. Then we round out the class with one that you love the squareness of back and the back shape and the way she's built in terms of her upper skeleton very, very well. She just doesn't take as long a stride and just free a stride as the two right ahead of her. And again, much like the heifer ahead of her, just doesn't have that extra barrel in her like the two class winners. Very good class of Maine Angus heifers there.
So go to back number 6643. That's ADPR FTZ, Foxy's Girl, exhibited by Jake King of Cope, Colorado. Second place in that class will go to Rhett Herman of Tryon, Oklahoma. Third place was exhibited by Cody White of Texaco, New Mexico. And fourth place will go to I-5 Cattle Company of Shattuck, Oklahoma. We're now going to welcome in those first and seconds, select the champion reserve senior heifer calves.
division here in this older heifer calf division of the Maine Angus show. These two class winners, and that's what it boils down to, is the two class winners for your Grand and Reserve out here. They're not exactly much like the last division with the two class winners. They're not exactly peas in a pod, right, in terms of how they're put together, but boy, they are both high quality. Just start with the heifer in the second class here. Like I said in class, I mean, this thing is an absolute genetic mutation in terms of how she is built. You just do not find them comfortably and naturally come that high out of their shoulder blade, and how they're constructed into that shoulder blade and the head shape and everything about her front 1/3 I love, right? For a genuine for calf, just being honest, I think she's just a pinch on the big side in my mind. Just like to rein that in just a little bit. And if she holds everything together in terms of her hip and her forerib, and just when you get them that freaky, it's hard to get them just solid everywhere. And if she holds everything together, she will be absolutely unstoppable this time next year. There's no doubt about it. It's just if all that stuff all holds together. But she is an elite female in her own right. The one that comes out of the first class, to me, I read her as more of a safe option. She is not out there in terms of any regard like the heifer right behind her. She's a little more conventional in terms of her size and stature and just how she is put together. She doesn't have the extra long neck and just the extra high tying and stuff like the one in the second class, but she is very balanced, very proportional. She blends better in terms of her forerib and shoulder blades. She is square hipped, and I think in that regard she is definitely better. She's just not as far out there in the one in the second. So to me, I guess, do you gamble just a little bit on the freak show genetic mutation, or do you take the safe option? Myself, I know there's a lot of gamblers out there. Myself, I'm more of a safe type of guy. I'm going to use young lady out of the first class to win a division. Young man in second class will be reserved. Let's give these two exhibitors a round of applause. Tremendous pair of females.
Well, congratulations over here in the Maine Angus ring. Your champion senior calf exhibited by Aubrey Belcher of Blakesburg, Iowa, reserve champion. And congratulations goes to Jake King of Cope, Colorado. We're now going to welcome in Class 16 Open Maine Angus Winter Heifer Calves born November of 2024.
Just got a single entry in this class, but one that we sure love, the foot quality and just the brood cow look that she has about her. Really long and level hipped when she gets her set up there, and love the way she fits in through her hip and tail head there. One that, we're getting a little bit older and more progressive age-wise here. You might just like to see her just a little bit deeper and more spring to her cage, but boy, that's a heavy-legged, big-footed female that's got a bright future in that girl's herd. Cow power here, and these two main Angus fall-born females. The one we're going to start off with maybe just has a shot more length of hip to her, length of side all the way through. Both of them extremely sound at the ground. Really like the extra shot of power that one in the first hole has about her, and I think she's got, when you get off to the side of them, she's got just a little extra rib cage and undercarriage to her as well. Very good female to lead off this particular class, and that's not to take anything away from this one in second. She also is extremely sound. Really, again, she is long-hipped, but just not quite as long as that one ahead of her. She's just one that we'd get a little more calf in her and get her bred as a senior yearling come next summer and fall. She's going to be tremendous female, just need to get a little more barrel and depth of body inside of her.
In Class 17 in the main Angus show, first place exhibited by Stella Worley, and second place will go to Bella Manis. Now bring in those first and seconds, select a champion and reserve in our fall heifer division. Over in Arena 2, we're going to get
Didn't have quite as many numbers in this fall heifer calf division as we did in the spring calf divisions, no doubt about it. But the cow quality in these three are still absolutely tremendous. Three very sound structured females. To me, it just boils down to personal preferences. Heifer that comes out of the second class just really paints a very pretty picture from the side. Really good in terms of her silhouette and sweep to her undercarriage, and I think has enough muscle. Maybe not quite as explosive as that heifer out of the first class, but I think it's sure adequate in that regard. Maybe not quite as high tying, and just the way that neck comes out of her shoulder blades and cleanliness could be just a nickel better in that heifer, but again, her balance, presence, and side profile is very good. And then this heifer that comes out of the first class, in terms of spread and foot size and foot shape, she is very, very good. Maybe doesn't have that extra. I think once you get all that hair off of there, I don't know if she's got that natural sweep like the heifer out of the second class, but she is explosive in terms of her pin width and just muscularity from nose to tail. I love her natural presence and how she's put together up through her front 1/3. I think she's got a distinctive advantage in that regard. To me, I like the one out of the first class. She's going to be a champion in this division. Young lady in Class 2 will be reserved. Let's give them two a round of applause.
Angus Ring, your champion fall heifer calf, exhibited by Gemma Emberson of Nowata, Oklahoma. That's Rose Lucky Lady, 437 MET reserve champion. We'll go to Stella Worley of Ringling, Oklahoma. We'll now look to see Class 18. This will also be your summer yearling division. Again, back over here in Arena 2.
I think a real solid place to start here in the young ladies. Big stout black heifer, just the width and dimension of this one. When you step in behind her and get on top of her, her back shape and spread is absolutely awesome. And to have that much power in her and still get out and move as agile as she is, I just think she just screams, being a generator in terms of a donor cow prospect. For me, for my personal preference, I'd like to lean her up just a little bit condition-wise. I think she's so stout and powerful, it just maybe takes away from her femininity out here when you get off the side of her. Not saying she's fat, but I just think she leaned up, she'd look just a nickel fresher. But boy, power, structure, very good female. Let's not take anything away for the lighter, greener heifer here in the second hole. One that when she gets her set up, we like her front end. Her shoulder construction is very good. She just needs a few more days on feed to catch up with that one right ahead of her. And I think deep down, when you study her skeletal build, she doesn't have that extra barrel and extra depth of body like the one that wins the class does. But a tremendously stout, good-looking female there as well.
Here in the main Angus ring, your champion summer yearling female, exhibited by Isabella Lugo of Bakersfield, California. That's SIL Hattie 4527 MET, and reserve in that division will go to Lacey Talley of Hobart, Oklahoma. We're now going to welcome in class 19. These are open main Angus females born April of 2024.
Tremendous pair of April bred females in the main Angus show over here. In my information in terms of feeding one, and judges talk about freshness and how to feed one to be fresh. This one's that. To still have, she's not lean, she's in show shape, but her neck cleanliness of fat and chest floor cleanliness of fat is so good. Love the structural build of this female. Tremendous set to her shoulder blade and front knee, and one that you step in right in behind her, she doesn't disappoint you with an extra shot of power at all. Just think a tremendous female there to lead off this class. This one in second, in terms of width and power and dimension, she's all there. You get up on top of her back shape and squareness, she will generate, there's no doubt about it, with all that extra muscle that she has to her. I think part of it, she's stout. There's no doubt about it. I think she's stouter than the heifer right ahead of her. But beyond that, I think what accentuates things, she is heavier conditioned as well, and I think that makes her look just like a superpower in terms of width and dimension. She handles that relatively well in terms of how she goes, in terms of her structural integrity. She doesn't have that extra neck set, the extra presence that the one that wins the class does. Doesn't have that extra length of body like the one that wins the class. But that is a tremendous pair of females there in this class of April breds.
Two to get results out of class 19. First place go to Rebecca Durler of Wright, Kansas, with MKL Calypso's Forbes 463M. And second place went to McKenna Cleveringa of Alton, Iowa. Well, congratulations in class 3 for
that leads off this March class of bred heifers in the main Angus division. They just check a lot of boxes in terms of what you look for in bred females. This one that we're going to lead off with, she just takes it to another level in terms of dimension and power, body, look, structure. She kind of does it all. That's a very good female in several aspects. We'll get her back out here in the overall and take another look at her in comparison. We get to this heifer in second. That's not to take anything away from her. Her pieces that she has, they're big. She's got the big round feet, the huge legs, and really for one that massive and that stout, gets around pretty agile, not quite as flexible as the one that wins the class. Biggest thing I'd change on that one, I'd lean her up in terms of her condition, and with all that body that she has, she likes to drop in terms of her top line when you set her in motion and on the stand. Heifer that comes next, one that's a little fresher in terms of her condition. I like that about her, but because of that, just doesn't have that extra power and extra spread that does. Heifer has right ahead of her. Sure doesn't have the extra feature like the heifers that win the class, but that's a sound, flexible, really fundamental type of female that'll be fun for that young man to breed on. One that comes next, again, really a long stepping, really love the hock and the way this one's designed in terms of her hind wheel. Gets a little bit more dainty in terms of the way she's put together, a little smaller in terms of her foot size and bone work, and sure doesn't have that extra spread and power like the three right ahead of her, but a really good structured type of a female. Then we round out the class with one that, kind of matches the two class winners in terms of frame score and size and length of body. Just maybe not quite put together as well in terms of how she sets to the ground. A little longer type of a footed female that we'd like to maybe change the shape of her foot just a little bit. But a big-bodied one that does have a lot of product to her.
First place was exhibited by Trip Yoakum of Sapulpa, Oklahoma, with CMCC Magic Chill 431 MET. Second place will go to Tegan Dioy of Ulysses, Kansas. Third place in that class exhibited by Riley Rhodes. Fourth place will go to Gage Pickens, and fifth place went to Grant Robinson. Now in the ring is class 21 before the division.
Wow, what a pair of females here in this particular bred heifer class of Maine Angus. Boy, if you're a Maine Angus enthusiast, and if this doesn't get your blood pumping, I don't know what will. I think these two are extremely close. I think they're both high quality. I think they'll go on and be future donor cows in the programs they're going to go back to. There's no doubt about it, because they are quality. Just going to tell you just the nitpicky things that I see in them. I think the shoulder construction and the way that the heifer in the first hole's designed in terms of her knee and shoulder, she's just a nickel more laid back. And in terms of how all that's put together, I think she naturally wants to tie a little higher in terms of her neck set, and her presence is just absolutely tremendous when she gets set up. And I think all of that has to do with the fact that she's a nickel leaner in terms of her condition out here as I see her. I think muscle, when you melt both these two down, I think muscle's a push between them, and I think shoulder and front end construction is just a nickel better in that heifer in the first hole. But that's not to take anything away from this heifer in second. To me, she is bigger bodied. There's no doubt about it. Her depth of body from the top of her back to her navel is absolutely outstanding, but I don't think the one that wins the class anybody would call shallow bodied and not enough. But this one, no doubt about it, she's got the extra depth of body, really good sweep to her undercarriage. Just don't know if she's got that natural presence to her, and I'd especially like to lay her back in terms of her shoulder and front knee as you compare to the heifer in first. But two tremendous females. This heifer in third, when she walked in, the amount of rib shape and boldness of rib that she has is absolutely awesome. She is also very sound at the ground. She is one that will be fun to breed on. She's a little more conventional and a little shorter bodied and just shorter coupled, just a little steerier, if you will, as compared to those two that win the class. But that is a stout built, very sound female that will be fun to breed on for that young lady as well. And then we round out the class with probably the biggest framed one of all of them, leanest in terms of her condition, that just doesn't have enough extra body and just that sweep to her undercarriage like the heifers ahead of her do. But boy, she is big-footed and she is sound-structured. Another one, we find a bull with some depth of body to put on her. She'll be an awful lot of fun for that young lady. we get into this spring yearling division here, boy, we got 3 class winners that just get me very excited about where this breed is at in terms of the main Angus division. 3 females that just are tremendous cow quality to them. So good structured, and they still have enough to them. We started off with the class 1 in this division, and she's the fresh one. I love the condition that this one is in. It's absolutely awesome. Very good structured in terms of her integrity, in terms of her skeletal build. So good in that regard. She is one, when you step in right behind her, doesn't have the extra width and power that the 2 right behind her do. But boy, that is a good looking one that can do a lot of things for the main breed. There's no doubt about it. One that comes out of the second class, she is just one that just does a lot of things right. Has enough look, has enough presence, has enough show ring to her, but yet she is the right kind of muscle, the right kind of body shape. She just combines a lot of things going the right direction. If we're going to get ever so nitpicky on her, maybe right behind her shoulder blade and in her forerib, maybe doesn't tie quite as true as the heifers on either side of her, but that's because she's got a big old caboose, and there's a lot of cow there in that young man's bred heifer. Then we round out the class with probably the toughest class that I have seen today. That, in my opinion, that pair of females was absolutely awesome. I thought the one in first that we picked in that class was a little fresher in terms of her overall condition. I thought her natural presence and shoulder construction and the way her neck tied onto her shoulder blade was a nickel better. But boy, that is 2 exceptional females out here that I think you sure got to look at as well. So tremendous set of females in this division. Let's give them a round of applause, and I'll go pick you the 2 I like.
Being a junior yearling heifer over here in the main Angus show, exhibited by Trip Yoakum of Sapulpa, Oklahoma. And reserve champion coming out of class 21, exhibited by Cambria Cook of Clovis, California. We'll now look to see the final class and division here in the open main Angus female show. Back over in the British White Ring, results out of your
Just got a single entry here in this September bred heifer division, and one that you sure got to acknowledge a lot of things about this one. The amount of spread that she has down her top line and the presence she has on the side view profile is very good. Really good hoof quality underneath of this female. We'd maybe like to clean her up in terms of her navel and maybe lean her up in terms of her conditioning. That's hard to do on a big senior yearling, though. I get it. They're getting to that age where they just kind of want to have a calf, and it's hard to get them leaned up. I get it, but very good female. She'll represent this division very well out here in the Champion Drive.
into the
Well, this is a day I've had marked on my calendar for quite a while. Those of you that know me and those of you that don't, I've been part of the main breed for probably 30 years now, and just the first time I've watched this show from where y'all are standing a lot and judged it in my head, but to be out here, it's a lot different, right? Just to be the one making the decision, it's a whole lot different. But this Maine Angus deal was something that started 9 years ago. I think when Blake came on. As the new head man in charge, was something that his crew came up with, was kind of their brainchild, and to see what I think the first show at Junior Nationals we had 12 head in it, and to see what it's grown into is absolutely outstanding. The type and kind of cattle, the consistency of the cattle in the Maine Angus breed is absolutely awesome, and I think the division winners as well as the reserves that were out here, I think are absolutely outstanding. So if you would, let's give all these exhibitors a big round of applause. We'll go pick you the two I like, and we'll get judging some more cattle.
Angus female goes to Trip Yoakum, Sapalpa, Oklahoma with CMCC Magical Chill 431 MET. Congratulations, Reserve Grand Champion Maine Angus female, exhibited by Cambria Cook, Clovis, California. That's JD Main Squeeze, 434 MET. Again, we'd like to congratulate all of the Maine Angus exhibitors here at the Cattlemen's Congress. We'll get the ring cleared. We'll get started with your junior maintainer female show. Welcoming back to the ring, Mr. Andy Higgins.
things off here in this maintainer division. I believe it's our first trip to town for all four. But we got to start somewhere, and what a better place to be than Oklahoma City. Good pair of heifers here on top, but there's some give and take in with these two, and I went back and forth on them. I'll be the first to admit the heifer, though, that's going to lead things off for me. I think today's just a little more ready out of this pair of females, just a little more natural body there as we study her through the center of her rib cage. When she gets her parked, I think this one's presence there and the way she ties from her neck into her shoulders very. If I'm going to nitpick this one, maybe like to raise her up in her pins just a little and see her connect there in her loin just a little smoother, but more power and more mass than the heifer in second. Heifer in second, no doubt, is the greener one of the pair and perhaps even the whole class, but still, I think it's her look, their femininity about her head and neck that you gravitate towards. She's extremely level in her lines. I like the future in this female because she's got some genuine width to her and some genuine power through her rib. Just gives up a little bit of the dimension of that heifer that wins the class today. Young man that comes next here, he's got a big stout one here, and she's about as deep there in her heart back into her flank as you can make one. She's got some added power to her as well in terms of just genuine width and power and shape. Maybe a little rounder in her construction out her hip there and just all the way through for me, but he's doing a good job getting her shown. Excellent kind of female. Young man here with this black and white one, one that's a little shorter in her construction as we study her about her neck and her body length. But I think it all ties together in just a really boxy, smooth kind of package. For me, I guess I would like to just lengthen her up just a notch and see her get out and travel a bit freer on the move. But very good way to start things off in the maintainer division.
Ring. First place will go to REEM Prophet Nova 2530, exhibited by Hallie Barron of Talala, Oklahoma. Second place in that class was exhibited by Ava Thompson of Harrison, Arkansas. Third place will go to Dylan Hebert, and fourth place went to Kit Pettigrew. We're now welcoming in Class 24 junior maintainers, spring heifer calves, born April of 2025. Currently in the British White Ring, we have your showmanship contest. Following this class, we will go right into the open British Whites.
Well, the largest class I've had thus far today, but packed full of quality all the way through, and some head scratchers along the way here is quite how to line them up. But this is how I saw them, and this is how these first two heifers hit me when I come in here, and I think it's close. The heifer that's going to win the class, though, for me, it's that look she's got there through her front end. The look she's got about her head and neck out here today is just outstanding. One that's still fresh in her condition, as she should be for this stage in the game. Plenty of rib shape to her. She's big-footed and big-boned and just tremendously loose in terms of her skeleton when we get her on the go. I think between this pair of heifers, the future and the one that goes one here to me is just really, really good, because I think she's the kind that continues to get better all the way through. Very nice place to start. There's no denying this heifer in second, just the mass and power and width and dimension this one has. You get up on her, and there's even more than there is when you're off of her. You know, for me out here today, if we project this one, she maybe reads like she's going to be just a little more moderate in her size on down the road, and I think I'd like to see just a little more futuristic look in that aspect. But there's no denying how sound this one is, how right and flexible she is in the angles to her skeleton, the power she has. That's a very, very high quality female to go second. Heifer in third's one of those I just kept coming back to because she's so right in terms of the fundamentals of build and structure. This one went in motion. Boy, she caught my eye right away because she's so flexible to be built the way she is. When you get behind her, I think there's even more power and width there than you would expect. So maternal her look. It's just simple as this. She just lacks a little bit of the bone and the foot and maybe even the leg hair, if you want to call it that, of them two in front of her today. Just gets a little out. But the build on this one's going to be good for the long haul. Heifer that comes next, boy, she fell into a tough class because this one ties high out of her front end. She's big-footed and big-boned as well. Got a lot of power and shape down her top. She's maybe a little thicker neck than some of the ones in front of her. Just like to drop her down there in terms of her rib and soften her up a little bit to get any higher in this class. But build-wise, she checks the same boxes as the three in front of her. Red heifer that comes next, this one's really neat. I think her color catches your eye. Just absolutely balanced when she gets her parked and gives you a killer look. She's stout and powerful as well. You know, in comparison to the ones around her here, she too reads just a little more moderate long-term to me. I'd like to see just a little more frame size in her today out here, but yet the quality's undeniable in terms of power, length of stride. In that one. Wide-legged heifer here's a neat one as well, and I think her color pattern gravitates your eye towards her. She is big-legged. She's stout-boned. She's full of power. And just like to soften her up in her rib a little bit today. At times she wants to get a little more out there on her knee when we get at the right angle to see that on that one. Unique animal, though. Young man's heifer here that comes next was the first one in the ring, and I think in terms of just genuine build and quality, you have to appreciate this one. She's long and extended and feminine. She's big-footed and very sound. She's simply just greener in her condition today and gives up some of the power, some of the dimension of the heifers in front of her. We've got a powerful one here to next. The white flanked heifer's big hipped. She's got a lot to her. She's a little thicker necked, maybe just doesn't drive with quite the right set off her hock either when we set her in motion. Young man's heifer that rounds things off here, tremendously long and extended, just a little more uncoordinated in the way she handles her top line and her hip when we get her out on the go. Really good class. Maintainer show is going to be a fun one already, I can tell.
Well, congratulations. Back over in the British White Ring, your champion senior showman goes to Kylie Spradling. Reserve will go to Jack Spradling. Back over in the maintainer ring, results out of Class 24, first place, exhibited by Finley Mosteller of Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. That was KMEM Mrs. Nova 268 NET. Second place in that class go to Kylie Riley Rhodes of Carlinville, Illinois. Third place in that class exhibited by Jocelyn Venable. Fourth place was exhibited by Xavier Wiss. Fifth place, and congratulations, goes to Lily James. Sixth place, exhibited by Jalen Wolfinger. Seventh place, Carter Eaton. Eighth place in that class was Irie Davidson. Ninth place went to Dylan Hebert. Now in the ring is Class 25, Junior Maintainer Spring Heifer Calves, born April of 2025.